Hi, Scott here. I'm a letting agent and I'm also involved in the service accommodation industry, and I always get asked the same questions about rent to rent and how to get agents to open up their portfolios so that investors can get rent to rent properties from their landlords and focus them on the service accommodation industry. So I've asked everybody to email me their questions over the last 48 hours. I've got all the email responses and I'm going to do a series of short videos to keep it under 5 minutes to answer some of the questions that you've asked. So just to let you know about me very quickly, I'm a letting agent. I've been a letting agent for 10 years. I've had my own agency, HomeSure. We manage about 500 properties throughout Ayrshire and Glasgow. I set up a brand new company this year focusing on the management of holiday homes. So that's focused in the service accommodation, short-term lettings, holiday lettings industry. And we personally always one rent to rent a month new that we're focusing on. So we're involved in the rent to rent sector as well. So the questions that we generally get asked, an overview is, agents are very protective. They don't want to open up their database. Agents are a great source of landlords that might want to do the rent to rent, even for HMOs, but we're focusing on serviced accommodation. So I'm going to give you some advice and tips and cover some questions here. Firstly, I want to say there's different types of agents, and to get agents on board you need to focus on the right type. So 3 different types of agent, very quickly and very generically. We're talking corporates as the first one. So big corporate chains, hierarchy of management. These guys are unlikely to get involved. They're just going to avoid it. They're never going to listen to your ideas. They're not going to open it up. They're not open to new ideas. So think of some of the big national chains and some of the more corporate ones. Just leave it. You're wasting your time. Second big generalisation, we would call rogues, for lack of a better expression. These guys will do anything for money. So these guys will take your, they'll let you access as long as they're making money out of it. But they're probably going to lie to their landlords, or they're probably just going to offset some of their shit properties to try and get rid of some stock they can't get rid of. So we've all seen this type of rogue letting agent, been in the market a few years, just set it up, don't really know what they're doing. These guys might listen to what you've got to say, but the chances are it'll all be done behind the scenes and the landlord ends up pulling it. So avoid these types of agents as well. So right in the middle, we'll classify them as good guys. These guys will be willing to consider it. You can meet the owner, you can have a discussion, you can grab a bit of lunch or tea or coffee and actually put the concept to them. They are generally willing to help their clients, and that's where the difference from the rogues are. Rogues will burn it for money. Well, I make £100 a month out of that, cool, I'll take that. Doesn't really matter if the landlord's benefiting from it or the landlord knows. They'll just do what they need to do to get money. But the good guys genuinely care about their clients. The good, solid letting agents, and you'll know what ones they are. So when approaching agents, you need to have an overriding philosophy here, and it's about a 3-way win. You need to win, the landlord needs to win, and the agent needs to win. So obviously you need to win, or otherwise you're not getting money. It's pointless you doing it, it's not worth your time. The agent needs to win because if they just pass you the landlord, they're sacrificing income. It could be £1,000 a year in some cases, so they're just not going to do it. It's not a good business model to give it away. So the agent needs to win in some form. And for a long-term relationship and strategy, the landlord needs to win. Because if they see you doing it and making a lot more money and they weren't made aware, or you've really knocked them down in the rent, they're going to resent it and they're just going to pull the deal and do it themselves. So looking at it, the 3 people need to win, and the agent needs to want you to win, and they need to want the landlord to win. It can't just be all about the agent. To get 2 of these, 2 parties winning there, it's pretty easy to do. The agent and you can win because they just cut the landlord out and you make money. The landlord and agent can win because they've got their existing relationship and you get shafted. But it's never good. You need the 3-way win. So I've just quickly written down 5 tips. And it's the best tips that I can offer to get the agent on board to open up their portfolio. So you want to go to the agent and ask them if they've got any tenant finding properties. So for fully managed, they look after it 24/7. They get the monthly income off the rent that they generate. But maybe 5–10% of some agents just deal with tenant finding. So they might charge £500 to find a tenant for the property. So if you ask the agent, do you have any tenant find properties? It's kind of irrelevant who rents it, and the tenant find landlords genuinely sometimes want to be involved, they want to meet tenants, so you can get a face-to-face discussion, and as long as the agent's getting their sign-up fee, big chunk of £500 up front, they're sometimes happier than that than getting £500 spread over £50 over 10 months. So the tenant find landlords are a good target market for you because the agent gets their money regardless. Next thing you need to do is make sure you protect the agent's income, and you get that very clear from the start. I'm an agent, I would not be giving all my income away because I'd be bankrupt. It would be silly of me to do it. So you need to make sure the agent gets at least their fees. So you could say, what's your fees in that property? 50 quid a month. We'll match that if you can broker this deal, and even give them double their fees. If you can double an agent's fees for doing zero work, they're going to be much more open to doing this. So the rent might be, might give them 600 quid for a 500 quid property. They give the landlord the 500 quid. The landlord's happy, they don't get minus any management fees, so they're making a bit of money, and the agent gets £100. Again, these are examples, it all depends on the property and the deal you're structuring. So agents like to protect their income and make money. It's a business model. The next thing is saving them time. So if you can broker the deal in such a way that the agent still gets commission but doesn't need to do anything for that, then it's a really exciting proposition. So maybe be a troublesome one that they can't quite get rid of, then if you can solve the problem for the letting agent, they're at least going to listen to you and they're going to pass you a lot more deals. Next thing is ask them if they've got any problem properties or properties they want to get rid of. Properties that work for service accommodation and holiday lets can be a lot quirkier and different than what people might be looking for the short-term lettings market. So totally different things for normal traditional buy-to-let, and people would accept stuff. So you might have a 2-bed that's actually 1 bedroom with a mezzanine level that's a bedroom. That might be hard to shift. But for the short-term lettings market, this is cool, it's quite quirky, it's there. So they might have properties that they can't shift, that you're going to be able to rent pretty easily. So if an agent is under pressure, getting a bit of hassle from a landlord, it might have taken them a few weeks to a couple of months, and the landlord's threatening to take that property away from the agent, or giving them a hard time, money might not be the motivating factor. For them, it might be the fact that they're solving a problem for the landlord and they're getting rid of a headache by you taking it over. So if you're asking for problem properties, you can solve that problem for the agent. It takes the money out of the equation to a certain degree. And the next thing is actually go into business with them in some form. So if you're making £1,000 off a service accommodation and they're getting the management fees of 50, they might resent you for that. So if you're willing and you've got a very good relationship with this trustworthy agent, you might be willing to sacrifice some of your income. For myself, we do one a month, but that's just because I don't have the time to do any more. And the input for the money is a couple of grand to furnish them. I stick to my target of one a month, but we have potentially 3 or 4 ones every single month that we see coming on that would be ideal. I'm personally not going to do them, but if the right person approached me and said, would you consider it? I might. But for me, money's not the motivating factor. The business is going well, but if I could solve a landlord's problem by getting guaranteed rent for 3 years and one of you guys was taking it, I would be open to that. So I wouldn't need a business, I need to go 50-50 with you, but if you've got a good agent that can supply you with lots of properties and you both build a strategy of saying, you know what, we could make 600 quid per property, we build 10 of these, you can quickly escalate this into a nice standalone business. It's just with rent-to-rents, and again the commission split between yourself and the agent would be up to you. So offer them a business proposition. Actually, the lettings market's changing. The whole market, you've seen the budget recently, legislation, the lettings industry for letting agents is not going to be here in 10 years. We need to change and diversify. So they need to have strategies like this to stay alive. So you know what, this might be quite exciting for them. So you can take an agent and give them a little business proposition, a little bit of diversification, and you know what, should be really open to your ideas. So I'm going to stop now and we're starting on a video. Video 2 is going to be a question and answer. We're going to start going over the stuff that you guys have given me in the last 2 days and basically cover the biggest problems. And I'm also going to share with you the 2 biggest mistakes that you can make while using an agent. So this is part 1 of 3. I hope you've enjoyed and look out for part 2.